now. All right. So
All right.
I just wanted to take the time out to thank those people who are viewing with us, you all. I already put it on Facebook, so you guys can go ahead and share it. I'm Frankita Godwin, who I'm the host tonight of the Impact Chasing podcast. So this particular episode is about millennial perspectives. We also have Wakenya Clanton, hailing from the Washington, D.C. area. We have Timothy Stallworth, aka T. Stall. Here in the Memphis area, we have Marlon Williams from Chicago, Illinois, hailing from Atlanta, Georgia. We have Bridget Morgan in the Madison, Mississippi, Brandon Jackson area. And we also have Twanisa McCray, who is aka Kitty from the Greenville, Mississippi. And so we are just about to just dive in. This will be an unfiltered conversation from a millennial perspective. So I hope you guys enjoy. So before we jumped on, we were talking about people being Will, Jada, and August. And I made a statement and said I've been all three of them.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. So, Timothy and Bridget are having some dialogue around like being heard and etc. So I'm just gonna let you all continue. I know, Kenya, were you about to say something?
Yeah, I was gonna jump in there on Timothy's comments around opportunity.
All right.
Right. And I want to also bring in Bridget's perspective around opportunity. Right. So when you're in a relationship, you make a choice to be in that relationship. You also make a choice to be loyal, and you make a choice to be disloyal. Right. As adults, willing adults, you make choices. So despite there being an opportunity, that does not give you right or agency. Disregard someone's feelings who you say you care about. Now, to the point where you decide to take advantage of whatever opportunities that you have either presented to yourself or someone else has presented to you, you then have also a responsibility to the person that you're in the relationship with to say to them, you know what, this ain't working, right? Because here's the thing about relationships. Before you get in a relationship, you should first be in a friendship. Right. So there are some things that you would do to people who you're in a relationship with, like an associate, that you would not do to your friend. Right. Like you're not going to betray your friend's trust. You're not going to betray the duty of care that you accepted when you decided to be in a relationship with them. So despite you having choices, right, and despite you having opportunities, I think you also have responsibility. So I hear both of you all on your points. Timothy was like, I mean, what if you died in a relationship before? Well, you know, the thing about people who die, you got to bury it, right? When someone dies or something dies, you bury it. So if you're in a relationship that you have literally died in, then you need to bury that relationship, right?
But you know what else?
I want to speak to that too.
Can I speak to it as well?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
What I was going to say was, oftentimes too, when people cheat, they don't usually, you don't die immediately. You know what I mean? Usually give them 1, 2, 3 chances, and they come back. You know, eventually it starts to die. But when I talked about it, I wasn't talking about the moment you cheat, then the relationship was already dead. Now you cheated. People usually cheat when stuff going good. Sometimes it's not that something had died already.
But see, that's your perspective. What he was saying is something in him died. Something in the relationship died.
But it's because of
he was not happy. He was not fulfilled in that relationship. So that's to your point. You don't have to take responsibility for that.
Right.
You have to take responsibility.
But even to that point, I want to speak to both Miss Clanton's and Tim's response to that. So it's a level of vulnerability that occurs in a relationship, right? So
exactly
what he's speaking about is it was some point in time that something was not going right that we as men particularly want. So Tim and I have been friends for almost 20 years, so we can definitely talk for each other when we say this. So, for instance, when it comes to our feelings as men, we don't really want a whole lot from women versus what women want from us, which is it's the entire world. And if we are one cloud short of that world, then it's World War III. Versus us, we don't like to ask for any damn thing, but when we do ask, that necessarily means we're needing that from you. So if we're not getting that from you, then that puts a lot of things into perspective for us and make us question exactly what it is that we actually are getting from you in fact. So
Marlon,
the fact
can I add to that?
yeah.
And then Joaquin, I'll let you go. And then I don't know if Kitty or anybody wanted to say something because I want equity of voice. So anybody, just want to make sure we all get what we need. So I feel as though when I look back on relationships and things like that, a lot of times I wasn't compatible with somebody. I had chemistry with them and I had great sex with them. Because so if you mix great sex and chemistry, you don't think it's accountability. You think that it's compatibility because you're going there, the soul tie is happening, you're saying nothing but good about them, and you're automatically thinking like, oh, you know what? This is it. This is my one. So I'm willing to do whatever. But then as time progresses and you grow and you evolve as a person, you figure out you're supposed to be doing your purpose and where this person fits in. So you don't need a soulmate. You really need a purpose mate. Somebody on my side that I know that can cheer me on while I go do whatever I'm doing. Not to say that opposites do attract, but do opposites stay together? That's my question. Right. You know what I mean? So for me, and where I am in my life right now, it's important for me to have somebody on my team that not only, speaks to my flesh, but speaks to my spirit, speaks to my mind. And as far as monogamy and polygamy, I think that it depends on what it is that the people in the relationship desire. Because a lot of many people are in relationships, they're monogamous, but their whole relationship is polygamous. Okay, so the thing is this: if you know your old man got a side chick and he messing off with this chick, why don't all three of y'all just sit down and have a conversation? If that's what y'all want to do, if that's who you want to be with. But if that's not what you want, don't stay in the situation and settle just for the sake of saying, oh, well, I got him. You only winning a heartache, or she's only, like, what's the purpose of remaining in something and it's not fulfilling to you? If you want monogamy, be with somebody that's monogamous. If he don't want if he doesn't. Most men struggle with being faithful. Some do, some don't. But with everybody you get with, you're gonna have to deal with something. It's just all about whatever it is that you can deal with.
And see, that's the part of the right. That's the part of the conversation that nobody really wants to have. See, that's the part of the grown-up conversation. See, a lot of people end up in situationships instead of relationships with each other. So you get into what you said, the sex was bomb, y'all were cool, y'all were vibing, and now you want to put a title on it so you can continue to have that sex, that relationship that you put with that person, versus establishing ground rules and having that conversation from the jump. Hey, look, if I know my sex drive is crazy and I know yours is kind of there, you know what I'm saying, halfway there, and we're trying to make our way to build on something like that, we need to have that conversation. Because when you get further on down the road, even from the stem and the deck, when you get further on down the road, you're trying to figure out, man, we used to do it like rabbits when we first got together. Yep. Now, where did it go? What happened? Now it leaves you feeling like, well, he doesn't desire me, or she doesn't desire me anymore, or what's wrong? I'm like, no, it was the situation that we walked into, and we just so happened to make it a relationship. Like this, this isn't what it is. So
to piggyback off that, Tim. Yeah.
Well,
you go ahead.
I want to pose a question to Marlon from what he said before Tim spoke. When you said that men really don't want that much from women in relationships, but women want more from men in relationships. Right? That was your statement. My question to you is, what do you think that women want in relationships?
Here we go. There we go.
Listen, that's going to take a long while to kind of unravel.
Land the plane, baby. We got time. And we black statements talking about y'all.
No, I'm gonna go into detail about it, but I won't make
through, babes. Come on through.
You're right. You're right.
It's important to do that. Y'all make assumptions from
exactly. Absolutely.
When you go into a relationship with a woman, when you see a woman, you know what you want from her when you see it, right? You don't see what she could give. In some instances, you do see what she could give. You know she all of that. You know she got it going on, and you are attracted to elements of that. But ultimately, something else that draws you into that. Instead of you having the appropriate conversation, to Tim's point in the beginning about what your expectations are in a relationship, you place that burden on women to have that conversation with you. So you go in under false pretenses because it's something in that situation that you want. And instead of you saying, listen, I mean, look, you got it going on. I know it's somewhere we vibing and whatnot, but I'm gonna tell you where I'm at. You don't have that same.
Okay.
Men, I shouldn't say you. In most cases, men do not exercise the same duty of care that they expect women to exercise when they enter into relationships with them.
And they want to pass for it.
And they want to pay for
what's easy.
Okay. So
hold up, ladies.
All right. So a couple of points, right? I want to make sure I make this point about Tim too. So Tim made up a valid point about how you're able to express how you feel from jump, right? So the thing about sex, right? I feel like sex is not complicated. The people who have the sex make the shit complicated. So obviously setting ground rules from Jump Street is something that should be done off the top from both parties. One person shouldn't be saying more than the other person when it comes to reciprocating certain feelings that each of the people may have for each other. So if one person is saying more than the other one is holding back and just like wondering, okay, well, hopefully this is going to pan out well because I feel like I said enough, but you really didn't say too much of any damn thing. And to your point, most men, I won't say all of us, but most men aren't well with fully articulating our feelings because it's a level of vulnerability that we're opening up to you in the beginning. And sometimes that could be hard for us because we oftentimes have trust issues just as well as you all have, but our trust issues are deep down and mostly ingrained internally from early ages, right? So
from childhood.
Let Ms. McCray. I think Ms. McCray wanted to say something.
Okay.
Yeah, she did.
Ms. McCray, you there? Kitty, you there?
I think she may have frozen.
Okay.
While we wait on her, I want to actually ask Marlon this question.
Go ahead.
Because we're talking a lot about sex here, as that that's the only element to intimate relationships, and it's not. What about emotional investments and intimacy in the absence of sex? Because I'll be honest, I was victim to that. I was in an emotionally intimate relationship with someone with no sex, no kissing, any of that whatsoever, but it didn't go, it went completely left. So when you talk about relationships and the duty of care, you're putting it on the physical, but most times for women, it's the emotional.
Yeah.
It's the emotional investment and intimacy that we encounter with you that leads us in these places where we hurt and ain't no coming back from it.
The funeral I was talking about.
It's the funeral.
Go ahead, Nick.
All right, Kitty.
No, it is. And you're right about that. And we have to do better as men to be able to pretty much make it visible that, our emotions are shown to you on a daily basis. Obviously, that's something that we have to work through as far as our issues go. But
Marlon,
you also have to be receptive.
Something after you?
Yeah. And you have to be receptive to what we indeed are displaying to you as far as our emotional feelings is concerned. Because oftentimes when we see a woman is looking at it all like laughing and joking at our feelings, we may just be like, well, damn, I was being serious about that. Mm-hmm. But yet you found that to be very minute. So from our perspective, it's like, you know what? Well, I ain't gonna say nothing else about it. Well, I ain't gonna say nothing else in regards to how I feel about certain things. I'm gonna just let you voice your opinion and then and just go from there. But we definitely do have to reciprocate those feelings from both ends. It can't just be one person more than the other. And if it is, then something has to be said from that moment on. Because if you wait too long to say something, then one of you all are gonna have an emotional breakdown, probably in front of the other person.
You're right, but you know what? One thing that I can say as a woman is sometimes sex is the only sex is the only piece of intimacy that some men give us. That's the being intimate they give us. So what happens?
And there are some women who only give that too.
Hold on, Marlon.
Okay, hold that thought, Tim. So it's like this. So check this out. What you're not gonna do is tell me I have all these great attributes and you love everything about me. You spend all this time with me, all this other stuff, and tell me, hey, I don't want a relationship, although we're doing everything that people in relationships do. And so what that does is that programs the woman, because in her head, she has like a level of standards, like, you know what, I know I deserve this, I deserve that. For me, titles don't really mean anything because I can park in a handicapped parking space and I ain't got no handicap sticker. So titles ain't worth a damn to me. But on the flip side of that, so if you're doing all of that and then you opening up to me and becoming vulnerable and I become like your safe space and your peace, And then you go in that room and you put it down like you put it down. You throwing me off because now you are being intimate with me on a whole nother level sexually. Like you're sexually taking me up a place. You're spiritually doing some things just to say, well, you know, if I see you out, it is what it is. How, Sway? Make it make sense to me. Timothy, please.
Go ahead, Tim.
It also goes back to what you accept. Like you said, that's a conversation that you and that person have to have.
Mm-hmm.
So he has to understand that the situation out of the grounds that we laid out in the first place, if it began that way, if it began as sexual first, and then you saying that I'm taking you to a whole nother level when I finally open up with you, you have to express that to me, because as a man, being honest, and I regardless of how anybody takes it, as a man, guess what? The first ground that he lays with you is the ground that he's going to stand on until you tell him otherwise. And that's just being honest. If we walk into this and this is a sexual thing, guess what? I feel like we're on a sexual basis. So when you when you open up to me emotionally, it's like, man, what the hell is wrong with you? Okay, where we going with this? Whoa, back up. Whoa.
Listen, Tim. I want to speak on that. Exactly. I want to speak on that too. So to Tim's point, this is a man's world, but a woman's universe. So we don't do any damn thing that women don't want us to do or don't allow us to do. So again, it's all about impressions, right? So we're selling the best version of us to you, just so you can pretty much like decipher and choose which one is the best suitable mate for you. So you see a bunch of guys that's right there in front of you, and you like, okay, well, this guy has this, he has this, he's about this, he's about that.
Yeah.
So you basically making a decision yourself on which guy you want to choose to go with in terms of being intimate with or just being exclusively with in general. But to that point, if he's obviously telling you exactly how it is, or you're setting the tone saying that this is all I want, guess what? We're only going to follow that lead. And then if we set the lead and set the tone, then we're expecting you to kind of follow suit with us as well. So you can expect more from a man than what you're obviously giving him.
I think this is a great space at this point right here to go ahead. Miss McCray, was it something you wanted to say? Because I know.
Can you hear me without me breaking up?
Oh yeah, we hear you.
Okay, I want to piggyback off what the young lady was talking about when she was saying how men, were just basically playing around with emotions. Now, you might get upset and do the same thing. They play the same part. Just like him, you know exactly what you want from him. So it's up to you to lay the law down and tell him what it is that you're looking for. He's going to tell you what it is he wants, and it's up to you to accept it. Now, women have a competitive spirit in them, a very competitive spirit. That man can tell them, I'm not looking for this and I'm not looking for that, but you're going to still charge at him because you want him. You want that victory. You want to say, I'm the one that grabbed him. But in the end, when he's making love to you and have you feeling
You breaking up, babe. I know that's good what you're saying, but you breaking up. Kitty.
Yeah, she was speaking the truth.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, what she said, I don't disagree with her.
He done took you here, and when you were getting that, I know I'm driving to Memphis. I know I was gonna break up. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, Kitty, press on mute. I'm sorry.
Listen, it's about animalistic instincts. Oh,
yeah,
we can hear you. Go ahead.
On even in the sexual aspect of the relationship with a man, we have taken so much from our men. That's the last place they have to dominate. You meet some women now that talk to their men like they're little boys.
That's real.
This is a great segue.
That's the only room that they feel like they are real men in the bedroom.
Straight facts.
Ms. McCray, thank you for that, because this is making segue into my next part of the conversation that I wanted to have. I wanted to talk about the fact that, in my opinion, I feel like femininity is lacking in women. I feel like the superpower that we possess is our ability to be feminine. And I feel as if society has pumped this over sense of independence along with this masculine energy into women. Our tones are off when we talk to men. We don't know how to listen. We don't know how to be quiet. I'm not going to use the word submissive and all that because I feel like people take that completely out of context. I just like having healthy dialogue and the ability to like build a man up. Because I feel as though there's nothing wrong with being educated and having a whole lot of degrees and all stuff. Personally, I think men don't really care about that. I think men more so care about how you treat them, how you talk to them, how they feel when you're around them, which is what causes a lot of men to end up cheating on women. And a woman to say, he gonna cheat on me with a chick from McDonald's because she made him feel like a boss. She knew how to massage his ego. She knew how to talk to him, how to respect him. And so for men, love is spoken through respect. So if you don't respect the man, he's going to do something with someone else to get that because that's how he loves. Women, we need love.
Yeah.
That's what the Bible says.
Men, we need validation to a certain degree.
Yeah,
we need validation and confirmation.
If your woman doesn't respect you, you don't feel validated. You have to have a woman to feel like a man.
Let me I want to push back and push forward. Okay. Because there's a lot there I agree with, but there are some points of that in which I find some space of objectivity, particularly around the fact that we have to be these subdued people. Now, for Kenny, you and I have had this conversation before. We both Southern women. We both know how to take care of the home and the husband. Okay, the house, the husband, and the hustle. We know how to do it all, right? Yeah. But I think there is, again, the same way that men need validation, women need that validation too.
Absolutely.
Both have been in relationships.
Yeah, I agree.
Where we lay it all out. We lay it all out from the moment we're in to the moment it no longer exists. So I think in some respects, it is important to make sure that you can show your vulnerability in that way. I think that is something that you have to be able to present in your relationships on both ends. But I also think you have men who abuse that. And I ain't no man hater. I'm a man love, trust me.
Yeah, for sure.
But what I want to say is that, you know, and a lot of that, and Nikki Giovanni, she's so smart. She also pointed to the fact that we as Black women in particular, I can't speak for nobody else because I'm Black, that's what I know, right? We do assume the role of validating men in our households. From the moment you come in and you got a warm meal on the table. From the moment you ain't got to worry about whether or not the lights are on because I'm taking care of that while you going and doing what you got to do. Like it is it is a partnership in relationships that we don't give enough credit to because we keep digging into what somebody else has dictated to you about your relationship. But in all honesty, you got to look at what you bring to the table too, partner. Like if you want me to be in a position where I can trust you with me, like for real,
show me that you can do that.
I agree. Yeah. We have to build that. We have to earn that.
I want you to take care of me. I'm not talking about just financially. You got to take care of me. You got to treat me like I'm the most precious commodity you have ever had on earth. And men don't always.
Right.
Timothy, I'm gonna let you say what
you're
gonna say, and then I'll wait.
To piggyback out there, it goes into. I was trying to explain to somebody the other day, interdependence versus independence, right? So a lot of people have been taught, and it's sad to say, you know what I'm saying, with today's society, a lot of women, they lack the things that were taught, that were instilled in them from back in the day, right? So there's this very strong sense of independence. And they've been taught, you need to show a man that you don't need a man, or you need to tell this man that you don't need him. He's just a bonus so that he could deal with that. But you have to understand something from a man's point of view. The moment you beat me down with that you don't need, I'm going to make you remember that you don't need me. So with a lot of men,
I'm unneeded. I'm gonna make sure I'm not needed. Yep.
So with a lot of men, and I can only give you the male's perspective from my end. So with a lot of men, when a woman tells you, well, you know, technically I didn't need you for this, or technically I didn't need you for that, or technically I didn't need you for that, the moment that you need me, I'm going to look at you as, why do you need me? Even though I understand that we are in this together, we're not interdependent on each other, because I no longer know that you need me for these things. I'm just your extra added bonus. So I'm going to do the things that I need to do. I'm going to take care of home.
Can I say something?
I want to say something to
go ahead,
that
Marlon,
too.
and then I'll go. And then
okay.
Right, go ahead, Marlon. I'll go after you.
one of the biggest misnomers about relationships is the fact that we oftentimes get too caught up in societal standards when it comes to quote unquote needing someone. You don't
Right.
need another person for survival. You shouldn't need
Exactly.
nobody else for
That's
survival,
what's
because
about.
the damn number one law of nature is self-preservation. If you can't take care of your damn self, you won't be able to take care of nobody else. And so from
Exactly.
that perspective, you need someone for companionship, not
Yeah.
for
Thank you.
survival.
Right.
And
I agree,
those
Marlon.
two things get mixed
Right.
and tangled up entirely too damn much.
Speak
And
on
you
it,
know
sir.
what else though,
And that,
before I forget,
yeah,
like as far as the male ego, you know, when I spoke about the importance of like, I'm talking about speaking life into your man and encouraging them. I'm
Right.
not saying that
Uh-huh.
it's our responsibility to like build up the man ego. That's not what I'm saying
Right.
at all. I'm saying that each person
No.
should have such a high level of self-love for themselves, right? The key is to love
Exactly.
yourself at your highest. If you love yourself at your highest, you're going to attract someone who loves themselves at their
Themselves.
highest, right?
yeah,
Because I
yeah.
can't do
Exactly.
for you, I can't trust you. Like Joaquin said, I can't trust you to lead when I see you on a path of self-destruction. So what happens is a woman get with a man, and now the role reversal has happened because she can't trust that man to be a provider, to be a leader, to be a protector like he's supposed to be, based up on the things that he's done. So now she's forced to step to the plate and kind of take on the role of a man, which is completely bringing us out of our feminine and making us work in our masculine. So in the house, it's like two dudes constantly
Right.
hitting heads
Yep.
because everything is out of alignment. So if a man is not truly aligned to God and his purpose, he ain't gonna know how to protect and provide. So the church and society has focused on women being good wives, and men are not taught how to be husbands. And then not only that, women do all this auditioning for love, which stems from codependency from their childhood. So you are auditioning for a man to show him all these great qualities that you have because you had to suppress what you were feeling as a child, because you had to be there for some adult. Your mother might have been going through something, or your dad probably wasn't there. If your dad was there, then your mom. It was a lot going on. So what you felt, you had to put to the side and be there for that adult. So in your adulthood, your child is showing up. So I just think that everything kind of stems from like the childhood, and if people have not dealt with that trauma, because that trauma is
Those
gonna
internal
show
issues.
Pose internal
Those
issues.
those are environmental issues, right? So I real quickly, I want to speak to that, Frankie. So
Go ahead.
for one, I do feel like obviously we know the whole saying, hurt people, right? So part of the other misnomer, is that you need someone to make you happy. So here's the thing about relationships that I've learned, and I found this to be very idiotic, especially for women from a woman's perspective, in my opinion. Women oftentimes get into relationships feeling like they're the only feelings that matter in that relationship. What they feel and how they feel is the only thing that matters, and we become not even secondary to that. It's like my part of my happiness is making you happy, when that's not the case at all.
That is
My
not the case.
happiness is still me making me happy and you making you happy. Now we add to each other's happiness, but I can't make you happy, and it's not my damn job to make you happy. And it's not yours to make me happy either.
True.
I was definitely waiting to say that. I would piggyback off that, Marlon. You have to understand that you when you go into a relationship, or my understanding, when I come into a relationship, I'm that kind of person that I can only speak for me. My mindset is I'm going to be happy regardless. I want you to be happy within the sense of yourself, whether that means being with me or being without me. My job is to not make you happy. However, my job is to elevate your happiness. So as I stated before, you know what I'm saying, I'm only supposed to be an accent to what you already had. You know what I'm saying? If you wake up today with a happy spirit, I know you got a shitty day, but you are genuinely a happy person. It's my job to try to, convert that, to bring your day about. But if you all doom and gloom every day, you're miserable within yourself. You know what I'm saying? So like that's part of one of the things like that leads to the funeral that we were talking about earlier.
Talk to us about that.
That's the wake. That's the wake. That's the wake.
Yeah, that's the wake. That's the pre-funeral.
You're putting too much responsibility on somebody else to make you happy, when your happiness comes from internally. It comes from the inner you. If you can't make yourself happy, then you're not going to be happy with anybody else.
You can't expect anyone else to do a job that you can't do.
Guess what though? Women, I can speak for me as a woman, tend to put everybody else before them, right? Because a woman can work 8 hours a day, pick a baby up from daycare, stop at Kroger and get the food to cook the food, put the baby in the tub, make love you, get up and do it all over again while cleaning up and cooking and holding the household. Women put everybody else before themselves. They don't practice self-care like they're supposed to. And so what happens is, in the midst of this relationship, this woman has lost herself. She's lost her zest. The person that you fell in love with, she is no longer, because in her mind, her whole MO is, dang, I got to do what I got to do so I can keep my man happy. But like you said, that's not our job. Our job is to keep ourselves happy, continue to do the things that bring us joy, continue to take care of ourselves. When I take care of myself the way I'm supposed to, then I can take care of whoever else is in my life better, versus then constantly burdening ourselves. And we don't necessarily communicate that, because some women would rather be quiet instead of having confrontation, right?
Right, but
well, I'm just be quiet because I don't want confrontation.
All right, but go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're fine.
But in the sense of a man, if you truly have a man that cares about you and your well-being, that man is being dragged down along with you because he hurts and he sees and he feels what you're going through. You know, so in a sense, it's like, look, we want to bear part of the burden that you bear, even though we don't say it. We want to bear the same burden that you bear.
You all bearing the same burden,
right. You don't have to have the kids 24/7. If we come and try to get the child this day, and you're understanding that, you know, that I'm tired because I went to work, I understand that you are mentally exhausted. I understand that you are physically exhausted because you are assuming way more of the role than you should. It should be 50-50 within this relationship. So with us, we are hurting inside and we get up. The only thing that we know how to do, because you don't allow us to do it, is to get up, go to work, pay the bills, provide, and do what we need to do, because you are assuming the burden of, I have this, I got this, the home is mine, and these roles are mine. And when we try to take it away from a lot of women, or when men try to take it away from a lot of women, it's like, no, I got it. But from a man's point of view, basically what I'm saying is, we share the same burden with y'all. We hurt and we know that you're being dragged down. So when we try to push you out the door to go do something, go be with your friends. It's okay. Go do this. You know, take some time. Go get your nails done. Go do. And you say, well, no, I have to wash the dishes. The dishes aren't going anywhere. The clothes aren't going.
And you know what? And to that point, I want to respond to that too. But go ahead. Oh, you let me go? Oh, okay.
No, I gave it to Marlon. He wanted to speak.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's very important and imperative that we don't lose ourselves in any relationship, right? So a lot of times, more times than not, women more so than men oftentimes lose themselves in relationships. They get so caught up in the quote unquote love, and sometimes they forget, like Frankie said, they forget who they once were at one point in time versus who they are now. It's like, who you are is what you do versus who you really who the core you is. And so from that perspective, I do feel like women typically enough who push monogamy like hard like that, they oftentimes are in love with the idea of a relationship or marriage, not with the damn person they with. That's the problem. That's very problematic. It's like, okay, you know what? Well, as long as I have somebody, then, you know, I ain't out here single and I ain't out here by myself and wondering why I'm snuggled up with a goddamn body pillow every goddamn night. So it's like, no, versus you're having somebody, you know, you can obviously say, well, at least he's here. And even if he's not sharing his feelings with me the way I want him to,
that's so pygmy behavior.
I'm gonna change him. It's like, well, women need to get out of this mindset. You can't change him. He has to. You can obviously ignite the change in him by obviously giving him those options, right? So my mother always used to tell me this. She said, in life, I can't change your mind, but I can give you more to think about. And so your job in that relationship, in any relationship for that matter, is to give the other person the different things to think about and to consider, for them to make that ultimate decision to change for the better for themselves internally and change for you externally.
Okay, why can't you go ahead?
I got a couple of things I want to say. So Timothy, you brought up a lot. You talked about how women want to own all of the things that they do in relationships, right? That was in essence what you said. I would push back on that and say you're wrong.
Wrong, very wrong, very wrong.
You're very wrong. We do not want to own all of the functions that we carry in a relationship. That's number one. Number two, we feel the void that left there. Like you said, we said we gotta wash the dishes. You like the dishes ain't going nowhere. Well, they would go somewhere if you washed them.
Oh no! I'm not saying I'm the man.
I'm using your scenario. I'm using your scenario.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go somewhere if you watch them. The reason that she said she gotta wash these dishes before she goes anywhere is because she know you said that they ain't going nowhere. In reality, she would like them to at least go to the dishwasher. Okay.
Subliminal messages. We know.
It's a function in a relationship, a gap in a relationship that you're not feeling. So you want to say that we want to carry all this burden and this load. In reality, we don't. Everything we do in relationships is out of necessity, right? We want to be your peace just like we want you to be our peace. So peace of mind for us is coming in the house and knowing that these responsibilities are shared. No, I don't want to have to go bring the food in the house and go put the baby in the tub and cook the food because you sitting there watching TV or you ain't made it yet because you know what time I get off. You know what time that baby needs to be picked up. You're not pulling your weight, and I shouldn't have to ask you to pull your weight because if we're in a relationship, if we're in a partnership, you are my partner. If you're in business, every partner got a function. Right? And it shouldn't be my function every day to be repetitive when you see me carrying that load. You can't just brush that off and be general with that because that's wrong. That's the representative that you try to sell to us and we ain't buying it. So
I'm gonna be the moderator for
Hold on.
Joe Biden.
Wait, I just want to get this out because I was waiting. I was listening.
Bridget got something she needed to say, and I see it on her face.
Go ahead. I'm gonna let Bridget go.
That's what I was saying.
Oh, go ahead.
Because I think when we talk about relationships and this, we impact chasing. So we're gonna talk about the impact your lack of showing up plays on your relationship. You talk about the funeral and the wake. Well, guess what? We don't have no opportunity to sleep, not even when we dead in relationships. Okay, because functions still have to carry on. And I think no, we're not gonna walk away from something that we don't work to build. Who does that? We're not quitters. So that's not in our inclination. The only thing that we ask of men in relationships is that if you don't want to be here, then don't be here. Don't be hot and cold with me. Don't come in and out, walking in and out and doing things to only appease me in the moment when you know that we're building something. When you go to buy a house, you know what kind of builder you're looking for, right? You're looking at somebody who's trusted. You're looking for somebody who's stable, who's solid, who you know it ain't no shaky, watery pipes up out of this because they invest the premium in you from the beginning.
Yes.
Okay? Because guess what? What you said to us a while ago was that, what did you say? A while ago, you said that we come in under this fictitious umbrella. Actually, we don't. We come in wanting to get to know you.
That's an assumption, right?
Know who you put in front of us. So if you give me your representative, if you coming in and woo to do la-di-da, and oh, baby, we going to go here, we going to go there, and I got this and I got that, and you running it to me like that, but you don't deliver on it, then who I'm supposed to be rocking
execution
with? You are your representative. So you can't be selling me on that because that ain't right, son. And then over here on the loneliness in relationships, there are so many people who are in relationships and are miserable and alone every single day. And it ain't because they're there, it's because situations have bound them there. We talked about earlier about how men they put up these facades and you go here and you go in there. It's because they're comfortable with what you're giving them. Because we're gonna come home and cook because we want to eat. Hell. And if we Southern like we are, we cooking a new for everybody.
I'm the cook in my house. So I don't know. I'm the cook in my house, so I don't know.
You're only cooking.
I'm the cook in my house, so I don't know.
So let me get control of the live. Joaquin, Timothy, Marlon, love your perspective, but I want to make sure we hear from Bridget and Kitty. So Bridget, go ahead.
All right.
Keep going.
Yeah, I want to.
Okay, so first, what I'm going to say, he said something about somebody pushing monogamy, and they push monogamy because they just like the idea of a relationship, blah blah. Let me give you a little background because I'm one of those persons who push monogamy really, really, really hard. And like I said, I was Will in the whole entanglement situation where I can't speak from a cheater's perspective, right? But I'll tell you this: as a single woman, right? So I've been engaged before. I give you that little background. Walked away from somebody for after 7 years. That's who I have a child with. Okay, so I, as a single Black woman, have bought my dream house, driving my dream car, doing my dream job, right, as a single woman. But I also know that I could have been 10 times more than where I am now with a man who wasn't for the street. You know what I mean? So what I'm saying is, you know how we say that women build Black men and make them better, right? At the same time, a good man can make a woman better, right? So although
it's reciprocal.
Right. So although I've done all these dreams as a single woman, I could have been 10 times even better, you know what I mean, at it, had I had somebody who, you know what I mean, was actually dedicated. But I'm not. But please understand, I'm not afraid to walk away. So while I still push monogamy, I am not afraid to walk away from something that I'm not getting, right. So I don't give people this excuse that, oh, I did something or this is why you do. No, it's like you said, you make your own decision when it comes to being in a relationship. And so it goes back to when she listed all those things about Black women holding the house down, picking the kids up. That's a lot. So on top of that, you're gonna break me. On top of it, so now I gotta cook with a broken spirit. You know what I mean?
God.
Now I'm picking up the kids and I'm holding back tears because I found out that you've been laying over X, Y, and Z and she got a baby on the way. You gotta get what I'm saying? So when I talk about funeralizing emotions and talk about how this thing is deep, you know what I mean? Because now my child got to see me like this. Now it's toxic, you know what I mean? And so now I'm creating childhood trauma for my child. Then now he got to, you know what I mean? So this cheating thing ain't just, oh, you made me mad. Oh, you didn't do something in a relationship. No, this shit gets so deep. It gets so deep. And so the man himself, who is often the proponent of cheating, needs to understand that it ain't just, oh, she looked good and it wasn't nothing. You broke something, man. You broke something. Like, and you really did break something. And people need to understand that and see how serious that is. And at the end of the day, when you rebuild yourself, which I've done, right, and I know I'm not perfect. I'm not coming off as perfect at all. I know that I still have childhood trauma to heal from. I know that maybe the reason why monogamy is so important to me is because maybe I have abandonment issues. You know what I mean? Because if you choose me and only me, you know what I mean, then you know that affirms me. You kind of get what I'm saying? So that's why that's important to me. And I didn't have a dad in my life. You know what I mean? So that's why. Right. So people. So when you hear people respect, you got to hear from who the little girl is or who the little boy is that's actually talking. You kind of get what I'm saying? So
is different.
Absolutely. And so that's why, like I said, I'm still a strong proponent of monogamy, and will walk away and will be by myself in this big ass house. And still gonna be good, you know what I mean? Because somebody gonna get it. Somebody gonna get it. Somebody gonna get it.
Somebody gonna get it.
With a big ass house.
This house, right? With the big ass house with the
big ass house.
With the big ass house with the
big ass yard, the big ass backyard.
Right.
With the big ass backyard.
What? Joaquin.
I saw you.
All right, so.
You can call me King.
All right, King. Okay, cool. You know, hey, I just want to make sure, you know, we politically correct in here with everybody's name. You know, some people are sensitive about their names. So, no, but to go back to the earlier statement when I said that, you know what I'm saying, some people want to assume that role, or women want to assume that role. There are women out there that literally fight the man with taking on helping with those responsibilities in the house. So it goes back to, like I was saying, with different situations. Some women feel like that's their core responsibility. It's my responsibility to do this. Right. You know what I'm saying?
For however way they were raised, right? But I want to speak something on
from the way that they were raised.
So like the question that I have now is the question that I wanted to start with, and you're kind of going there now. I just want to give people the question. The question is, how do you identify? Like, what is the difference between your identity and your role, or are they one and the same?
Okay.
No, I'm not talking about just from a relationship perspective.
But just in general.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that a person's identity is who they're going to give you that at face value, right? You know what I'm saying? They're going to give you that at face value. This is my identity. This is who I presume to be. This is who I'm going to present to you, right? Because that's all you will know. This is my identity. This is who I presume, and this is who I present myself to the world. Versus my role. My role is when I enter into something else beyond the face value of everything with you. That's my role. If I'm entering into a relationship with you, I got two simple rules. In any points of that. Love me and respect me, and we good. Love me and respect me, and we good. As long as we got love and respect for each other, Everything else we can build on together. You know what I'm saying? Because it's
What's
gonna be a
your
different.
role though? What's your
What's
role?
my role? What's
Yeah.
my role?
Or are
I'm
you
gonna
saying that your identity and your role are one and the same?
No. My identity is who you meet. I'm the workaholic.
Exactly.
I'm. You know, if you want to call me Stolly, you want to call me T Stall. That's my identity. You know what I'm saying? Some people see me as grandiose. You know
So
what I'm saying? Oh, let's.
Your identity is more so what you do. Is that what you're saying? I'm just asking for clarity.
Right, like for clarification, my identity for everyone else is what I do.
Okay.
You know, anybody, like you said when we first got on here, Tim has 7 jobs. You know what I'm saying? Tim does this, Tim does everything. That's
Right.
my identity to everyone.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Well, my role is, you know, my actual role, I tell everybody, I was only put here to understand God and myself. Everybody else is either a plus or a minus. You know what I'm saying? My role is to be a plus in every life that I impact and touch every day. That's my role.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? That's my role in life. While I'm here on earth, I'm gonna make this the best motherfucking environment around me that there could ever be. It don't matter if you're around me 10 minutes. I'm gonna try to impact your life in some shape, form, or fashion.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? That's my role. But my identity is, man, you can't outwork 10. You can't outwork 10. You know what I'm saying? It's Stolly.
All right. So yeah.
Marlon, I want to hear Marlon. Go ahead.
All right. So in retrospect, I want to just speak to this from a micro and a macro perspective, right? So identity versus role. Your identity is who you are internally and externally. Now, those two things can differ based on circumstances, based on who you interact with. Me personally, I have the personality that gravitates people towards me. So that's part of my role, but it's also a part of my identity. But my role per se is something that I do, right? So in retrospect, let's think about this from a professional standpoint. So I work in IT. I'm a database analyst. That's my role. That's what I do. But that's not who I am. So I am much more than just a role. You can't put me in a certain box and say, okay, oh yeah, that's Marley. Because I'm a man of many hats, right? So just like women, you all are women of many purses or women of many heels, however way you want to pretty much, whatever analogy will fit your preference. But for me, being a man of many hats, I obviously have multiple roles in my life that I can play, that I have played, and I am playing. So, but it's not necessarily a game, if that makes any sense, right? I'm not playing these roles. These are the roles that I put on every single day. So obviously, having that professional role, having the family role, having the role of, or even just being me in general, me being as a human being, as a man, as a black man, that can be taken as my role and my identity. But more importantly, it's more of my identity than my role because I can't turn this off. And so from those two obviously can be one and the same in some aspects. They can also be different too. And I think a lot of times it gets lost in translation what those two things ultimately means to individuals, right? So everyone has a different role. Everyone's identity is different as well. And then there could be some characteristics that are actually the same when it comes to human. And from a humanistic standpoint, I feel like human beings though are full of shit, right? So and I say that with respect. And the reason why I say this is because everyone is a nice person until it requires you to be a nice person. So that nice person is your role. It ain't necessarily everyone's identity, or at least it's an identity up until a certain point in time when things hit the fan. I mean, think about it from a societal standpoint. Politically, we're seeing everybody's identity and role play out now, because now we see what your political views are, what your religious views are, what your policies and your convictions that you stand on. But we see people oftentimes apologize for it. I never apologize for how I feel because that's who I am. That's part of my identity. I can't apologize for that. And I would never apologize for what I say. I will sometimes apologize for how I say shit because I know my delivery is still a work in progress. But again, that speaks to my identity more so than my role. So the two can be, a role can be part of your identity, but your identity is much more than your role. So just to kind of simplify.
Okay. Thank you for that. Joaquin, what you think?
Well, I think my identity is who I am and what I believe. It is my principle. It is my core. It's what you're gonna get no matter what time of the day, no matter what hour of the night. My role in any situation is to be a compliment, right? Particularly in relationships. I believe you want to be relationships. Intimate relationships are about partnership. It's about companionship. The person who's going to help add, like, it's really your helpmate. You think about Adam and Eve pulled it from the rib because she was his support.
She was tissue.
Your rib, you know what I mean? It was just support. It helps with your frame. It helps things move properly and give you structure. Like, that's a part of that. That's a part of the anatomy. And I think, and sometimes in relationships, we conflate the two. We associate our identity with who we are associated with versus who we are. And I think that's Marlon and Timothy's earlier point around being whole in your relationships. I think it was actually Marlon who said, being whole. You got two whole people have to come into a relationship.
Yeah, it's multiplication.
That's right.
Yeah, multiplication. Yep. But Timothy equated to being 50-50. No, you bring your whole 100 and I'm going to bring my whole 100 and together we're going to have.
Absolutely.
Right? Because our job is, particularly as women, our job is to be multipliers. That's our function, right? We are blessed with certain organs and certain abilities that men aren't presented with in the same way because we have a different purpose. And I think we have to understand that in the grander vision of things. But when it comes down to particularly not losing yourself in relationships, it's at the core of who you are. You got to understand you. You got to understand what your non-negotiables are in relationships. And also you got to understand how you communicate, but also how your partner communicates. Because what I've heard here tonight is that we all communicating and we're not having to understand how we're communicating to have these conversations. And it works the same way in relationships. Oftentimes things go astray because people make assumptions, right? And you can't do that, particularly nowadays when people are always looking for scapegoats. Don't nobody want a commitment unless they got to commit, right? If there's a gray space, you always looking for a loophole or way around it. And that also comes with maturity, right? Like, there's a time to be a child and there's a time to be an adult. And once you pass that point, when you enter into adulthood, the moment you want to think you're grown and you say it and you're moving like it is, you lose so much of what it really means to be mature in your relationships and what it really means to be accountable in your relationships. Some things are just about that, being mature and accountable. And I think that speaks to your role and your identity and responsibilities, then the responsibilities of both.
Respect. Bridget, what you think?
A lot.
Come on.
I was listening to everybody and I'm just trying to figure out like identity. I mean, because I feel like I had an issue with identity, particularly in my career. I've always identified as a public defender, right? And to this day, that's what I'm identified. And when I was forced out of that role politically, for political reasons, right? I literally couldn't, I was like, what do I do now? You know what I mean? Like, cause I really couldn't see, like, nah, this is who I am. Like, I can't do no other kind of work. And so when God forced me into doing a different role, I had to, and the key word is role. When he forced me to do that role, I realized that my identity didn't have to change, right? That my identity is my purpose, right? So I can have a purpose and I can fulfill that purpose in a different role. So I'm still a public defender at the end of the day, you know what I mean? But when I got changed to a different role, I was like, well, how can I fix this? Or how can I make this work for me? And so when I started being the attorney for the police department, I was like, okay, as a public defense, how can I bring community policing in? How can I let them know that, the charges start with you, you know what I mean? And push that issue. Then I got changed around again and it was like, okay, and this was like totally opposite of what I would ever do. And it's like, okay, how can I bring that into it? And so what I found myself doing is that I never lost my identity. My role changed. You kind of get what I'm saying? So I can speak from that perspective versus just saying like a regular role of being a mom. Because I don't identify myself and say, oh, I'm a mom. Or I'm a woman, right? I'm a woman first. Point blank, period. And I know Absolutely. you spoke earlier, Frankita, when you talked about women, lose themselves or they don't do self-care. I'm not that woman, you know what I mean? Like, I you know what I mean? Like, I'm not the woman who loses themselves. Like even in motherhood, like, I'm not the woman who goes to the store and by the child, so I'm gonna forget myself. No, I'm probably gonna forget him, and I'm gonna get me. You know what I mean? Because the way that works is, in order for me to be a good mom, I got to be a good woman. I got to be good. You know what I mean? And so if I'm good, it flows. It flows to my friends, my mom, my sister, my child. It flows. So I do a lot of, and I learned that. I learned that from my own mom, because why? She was the kind of mom who sacrificed. And I saw how she became resentful over the years. And it was like, she's not happy. And I was like, I won't be that sacrificial person. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So you had to learn that. So I mean, people all the time, they equate, you know, not taking care of themselves with being like a great mom. No, you're doing it all wrong. You're doing it backwards. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's good. Muffin, not Muffin. That's your cookie. Kitty.
I'm here. I'm checking into the room.
I know you want me to come back. You want me to move back around?
Yeah, come back to me.
Okay.
I want to say this too, Frankie. Frankie, you can go ahead. You go ahead.
You sure? You can say it. It's fine.
Okay. Well, I do want to say to Bridget's point, right? It is important that we understand the importance of our own identity, because roles change and they expire. Your identity is going to always be what that is, the core you, right? So, and part of your identity it's environmental. It does base and predicated. It is predicated off some of what you have gone through in life that have helped you mold yourself into that identity, right? And those different beliefs and convictions that you have came from the things that you once saw that was either good or bad and bad. You saw some things that were obviously good and bad that said, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to learn from these mistakes that I saw others make, and I'm not going to make these mistakes myself. I'm going to make my own mistakes, because as human beings, we're imperfect. So part of that imperfection is us making mistakes, and those mistakes need to be our own. It doesn't have to be the mistakes of old. It don't have to be the same mistakes our parents made.
Yeah, that's true.
And part of those mistakes too that need to be addressed that our parents made is having that very uncomfortable conversation with our parents about those mistakes and decisions that they made. And I had to actually come to the realization and have that conversation with my mother, because I didn't have my father, but I had my mother, and there were certain decisions that I saw growing up that I understand fully now, that I was just like, okay, I understand why you did that. I see why. But then there was some that I was like, you could have done something different. Why didn't you do that? And it's not about placing blame and just like shaming her, but it's all about seeing her perspective and understanding, okay, based on whatever circumstances it was at the time, this was the end result of that. But even to that point, those choices, you had multiple choices to make, but you chose this route. I need to understand why. And so I gained that understanding, so I won't make that same damn mistake, later on in my life as a parent.
And you know what, Marlon, I'm going to come back around to that, but when I think about my identity, I think about my core. Who am I at my core? So if you take everything from me, you take every title from me, every achievement or whatever, who am I at my core? I lay down in the bed at night, who am I? That's my identity, right? That's who I am. My roles, I'm a woman first. I'm also a teacher. These are, again, different roles. And so the thing that I think people struggle with is you're shifting from one role to the next while trying to maintain your identity.
Absolutely.
That's hard sometimes. So that's why sometimes people identify what they do as to who they are, right? You know what I'm saying? I'm a person. I'm a woman first. I'm a person of integrity, or whatever the case may be. And so like when I think about my parents, I have so much grace and so much understanding, because I understand that they were searching for love, right?
Absolutely.
Or they were searching for some particular void. Like my mother, her dad died when she was like 3 months. So of course my mother's gonna struggle when it comes to love, because she never was able to get the love that she needed from her father. And so like you said, as you get older, as a millennial, we have a perspective, and we are changing generational curses. We're changing,
breaking them. We're breaking them
because we're attacking it head on. We're going to therapy, and we're not afraid to have these conversations. Like, hey, my mama called me, and I said, hey, mom, you run up my anxiety. I ain't you know what I'm saying? Like, let me be great. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm having a moment or whatever. So we are expressing these things. We are unapologetic about it. And I
love us.
I just wish, me too.
I do
just
too.
wish
Yep.
that people were more open-minded about each generation, because if you all are paying attention, I see it every day. There's a generation behind us that is lost.
Very much so. Very much so. Who you are is not what you do, but what you need to do is be who you are.
Absolutely. And so here's the question though. If I'm allowing society to drive who I am, how I am basically I'm telling God this creation that you made ain't worth nothing. Because I'm trying to do what society is telling me. I'm doing God a disservice by trying to be someone I'm not. People are comfortable sometimes being their authentic self. It took me 35 years to become my authentic self.
Well, think about this. Society is full of shit too, right? So
absolutely,
society moves the damn finish line all the time, and it basically changes the narrative every single day you wake up, because in the court of public opinion and scrutiny, it's like, okay, you know what? This was taboo at one point in time. Now it's out here now, and we're doing this. Versus now, you know what?
One
we need to change this up.
We doing it light.
Yeah, and it's like now we think about this from a perspective of we're living in a much more woke time, even though we still have people who are
walking dead,
who are narcoleptically sleep. If you think about it, like they're not quite woke. They woke at times. You know what I mean? They have different spurts when they are woke. But society is only woke when it's beneficial to society. And that's what's pretty much problematic to us as Black people, Black millennials specifically, because we have to deal with these issues on top of the internal issues that we've been dealing with all these damn years. And so these are layers and layers to this onion that we're having to peel back until we get to the core of us, almost to a point where, if you think about this, society, we're making all the same damn mistakes that we've been making. We haven't made any
60
new
or 70
mistakes.
years ago.
No new mistakes have even occurred yet. We still haven't figured out the basic elements of being human is just being polite and being kind to each other, regardless of indifference. But we can't even fucking get that straight. We still can't figure that out yet. I mean, 2 + 2 is 4, damn it. It ain't gonna never be 5. But clearly, we still don't understand that, though. So it's just, that frustrates me to think about. On top of all the issues that we already having to attack head on, we got to attack these other issues that shouldn't even be issues anymore. So, yeah.
Okay, so I know Ms. McCray has to say something, but Wakenya has to leave in like 5 minutes. Wakenya, I'm gonna let you chime, and I'm gonna let Ms. McCray have her moment.
I don't have anything else to add here. I think they captured it pretty well.
Good deal.
Yeah,
thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. I had a ball. Y'all are amazing.
Thank you for your perspective. It is definitely appreciated.
Well, I'm saying my soundbite is leaving.
Y'all wild, man.
I'm sorry, y'all.
P.O.P. hold it down.
We are in transition, so I need to go do some things and get my face ready for tomorrow. But I have enjoyed you all. I hope we get to do this again. This should be a regular thing. I love it.
We must.
Absolutely.
So, and congratulations, Frankita. This is great.
Thank you, sister. Blessings.
See you later.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, and I'll be sure to get your information from Frankita, because I would definitely like to have you all on my podcast too.
Yeah, we'll make it.
Yeah, and I have a podcast upcoming as well.
Look at these podcasters.
Absolutely.
We're
Take
not
definitely,
and
I definitely need you there because I
lead.
like your pushback. It's about relationships and a perspective from a woman and a man. It's called "What Women Want, What Men Need."
Oh, I'm down. You let me know. I'll put my info in the chat box before I leave.
All right.
Okay, cool.
Well, you be safe. All right, Kitty, what was it you were gonna say, babe?
I was just gonna answer your question about the identity and the role. I'm settled now. Okay. You got me?
Mm-hmm.
Right. My identity is me. Is who you get. Loud, live, and in color. That's what you get. A genuine person. I'm loud as hell, but I'm a genuine person. My role, I have a lot of different roles. So my role is to, how can I say it? My role is to go with the flow. And the reason why I say it is because it's so many things that you go up against every day, from your kids in society, a woman in the workplace, a Black woman in the workplace. So I have to go with the flow with a lot of things. A lot of times I just want to run off and scream and yell and holler, but I can't because I got a purpose. Now, he was talking about we letting society run us in the ground, true. And society has turned the future generation into an extinct generation because that's what's going to happen. Our girls don't think they're pretty enough. Our boys think that they can't show no sign of weakness to be labeled as a man. They got it all screwed up. We, not us, but a long time ago, we dropped the ball with our kids. We dropped the ball because we didn't want them to work as hard as we did. We didn't want them to suffer. I don't want him to go out in the field at this time in the morning. So we comforted them. We bought them everything they wanted. We didn't want them to go to work. We didn't want them to take on those heavy duty responsibilities that we took on. So now he's 19 years old. He riding around his baby mama car all day long. He won't go to work, but she working 2 jobs. Our men are in danger because we are not raising men. We are our boys now, they leave the mama titty and they go to their girlfriend titty. Just point blank. It's sad.
You know what?
And I hate that.
Yep.
I hate it, Frankita, because I'm telling you, we are not going to have anyone that can lead this country to lead, even just lead. Period. How can my daughter? I let my daughter go off with a joker, and only thing he want to do is ride in the car all day long. How can I be pushing my daughter to be the best she can be? You can do this, you can do that, but then she get with a guy that's gonna hold her back.
Man.
Why would I allow that to happen? Even though I know I can't stop it, but I'm gonna try to interfere, but I know I can't stop it. Our boys aren't meeting up to the expectations that they are supposed to.
And you know what?
We have some talented. I mean, these boys are amazing, but they're going down the wrong road because Moneybag Yo said this.
That part. So you know,
my God.
We just literally had a conversation about this as a boy mom, right?
Right.
Something I read or watched, and it was just saying that women tend to coddle boys because we know what they're up against when they leave the door, right? So
we love our sons and raise our daughters.
We love our sons and raise our daughters. That's what they say. And so it's like, for me, I affirm my son even now at 2 years old because I understand what he's up against. I still have to discipline him. I still have to nurture him and make him understand why I'm doing what I'm doing and have conversations with him and let him feel comfortable that it's okay for you to cry. It's okay for you, because society and people's level of, I don't think people understand their level of influence. You understand what I'm saying? So like people that are rappers and things like that, their level of influence is through the roof. And so faith comes by hearing. So what is it that you're hearing? So if our babies are constantly bumping Moneybag Yo, rest in peace King Von, rest in peace Big Mo E, who was all these talented individuals, and I listen to these people. All they talking about is getting and murdering somebody. So guess what? You wonder why people are aggressive. You wondering why the pushback you get is because what they're hearing. You can't control the airways though.
It's social media too. Social media has exacerbated this times 100, right? So obviously all these kids are going live, saying this and that, giving their whereabouts and location, and then wondering how or why these people are running up on them, shooting them, fighting them, whatever. And these are the end results of that, right?
But the desensitization, though, what has it done to us as a people? People are seeing dead people on the internet, seeing people laid out in the middle of the ground. It's like, oh, just another day here in the.
And they just put out their phones and start recording.
It seems like when you dead, you the man.
Yep.
Street cred.
You're not here to see it.
Yep.
But you the man.
These kids don't realize that. Yep.
Death is
permanent. No, they don't. But
they're gonna say I died a real nigga though.
Yeah. But they think when they die today, they're gonna be back tomorrow. That's the damn problem. It don't work like that.
It's mind-boggling.
You're not a cartoon, baby.
You're not coming back.
And so, like, I guess
have
the question,
3 more.
so the question that I asked myself, if we see these things happening to the youth, what are we doing? What is the solution? What are we doing to help change the narrative?
Well, it's funny that you asked that question because the two of you all, you and Bridget, are boy moms. Tim and I are girl dads. That's funny, right? So, and think about this from this perspective, right? So we obviously are doing the best we can to ingrain in our kids some of the very principles that still stick with us, but also adapting to the new way of life that we are living.
Yeah.
And basically being in a much more, I don't like to use the word privilege, but I feel like privilege is a negative term. If you think, for me it is, because when I think of privilege, I think about white privilege, and I don't like white privilege. But okay, but yeah, even to that point, I do feel like we need to obviously ingrain in them to have that will and determination, and also have that work ethic that, hey, listen, you can be whatever the hell you want, and regardless of what the hell society says, because we as Black people know we already have 2 strikes against us. So knowing that, we have to use the opportunities that we earned and take it and go even further than where our parents went with it. And so we're supposed to ingrain in our kids to do more than what we did, just like our parents did for us. We're in a better position than our parents are in, if you think about it, from all facets, educationally, professionally, from a home ownership standpoint, all those different things. And that says a lot about some of those core things that was ingrained in us that we obviously are taking with us and instilling in our own kids too.
Right.
So, and I want to speak to that if I can. And then you talk about us being a boy mom, and you asked the question, Frankie, and I want to kind of answer that.
Okay.
I think that parents first have to start with the nurture versus nature conversation, right? They have to start with what's in the environment, but what's also biologically in the child. You have to understand who you lay down and make the child with, right? Yeah. So for me, I know that, my co-parent is very intelligent, right? But then I also know that his upbringing was different. You kind of get what I'm saying? So, but his upbringing is also in my child, right? And who his dad was is so the granddad is in my child. So the DNA, so the DNA is, from what I understand, it can be gun violence. You know what I mean? It can be, all this kind of these, using drugs and all that kind of thing. That's somewhere down his DNA, right? Mm-hmm. So as a parent, if I know this in his DNA, then I'm gonna not put him in an environment that's gonna aggravate the DNA. You kind of get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So for me,
right there, girl.
So for me, I mean, so because I know what the DNA is in my child or what could possibly be, I'm not gonna put him in an environment that's gonna aggravate what's already in the DNA. You kind of get what I'm saying? So I've been intentional, and this is who you are, this is where you come from, but at the end of the day, even me as an adult, if I stay in an environment where I know my DNA is, it's gonna be aggravated. You kind of get what I'm saying? So you put your children in a better position when you change them. You can't change the DNA, but you can change the environment. You put your children in a better position when you change the environment. So how was I intentional in doing that? So I changed the environment, right? I chose a great preschool so where it was diverse, where it wasn't just us who were in the preschool, right? Mm-hmm. And so when the child comes out of preschool, he's speaking correct English. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, my child's 8 years old. He listens to Moneybag Yo and whoever, Roddy Rich. You know what I mean? But guess what? The foundation has been laid already to speak proper English, to be a leader, to do what's right when nobody's looking. So this whole music thing doesn't drive you. You kind of get what I'm saying? It's not. It doesn't become who you are. You know what I mean? It's just Go ahead.
What about Bridget for the ones who can't get from that environment?
So when you can't get, so I feel like when you can't get from the environment, it presents a greater challenge. You kind of get what I'm saying? So let's say if I had stayed on the South Side, then what do I do? Then I have to take the weekends to expose my child to more. You kind of get what I'm saying? Let's go on a road trip and show you the museum. Let's do this. For me, I got lost because I was raised on the South Side of Greenville. So I got lost in TV. I got lost in I Love Lucy and Bewitched and these kind of shows. And I'm like, and I chose my career like, okay, I want this so that I can get this. So you got to get, I feel like in our generation or the generation behind us doesn't get an opportunity to see life beyond the four corners they're living in, the four walls they're living in. And you have to present hope to them, present other opportunities and options. And because if you don't, they're going to see the only thing I got to do is go rap. I need to go find a studio to go rap. That's my only way out of the hood, you know, and it's not the only way out of the hood. So they got to take them on field trips to people who weld and, you know, different jobs and say, this is what, it took me to see a bulletin board in first grade to decide what I want to be when I grew up. You kind of get what I'm saying? So it's like, when you'll be surprised when you show a child something, how they would just literally suck it up and be like, oh, how, you know, but if you don't ever show them and if Moneybagg Yo is the only person that's showing them, then that's all they got to listen to.
Okay. Kitty, what were you going to say?
Now, I'm at a point now where I'm really watching my kids. I'm laying eyes on them because first off, I got a senior that's coming out, graduating this year.
Congratulations.
I got 4. I have one girl, she's my oldest, I have 4 boys.
Okay.
So I can't watch each one. Now, same mother, same father, Sugar, Jeff, Jaree. I'm going to tell you an incident that happened in school. Jeff and Jaree are a year apart. So Jeffrey perfect grades. He ain't gonna have his shirt untucked. He's just just square, you know, square boy. That's him. Jaree is a little more loose. Now he gets his work, but he has the tendency to drift off and wanna do things. So I kind of watch him a little more. Okay. Jeffrey is at school doing everything he's supposed to do, not bothering anybody. And a young boy started messing with him saying, man, Jeffrey, you gay. You always got your shirt tucked, you know, just stupid stuff. Jeffrey didn't react, but Jariel did. They are night and day. And I kind of watch them because my mother, she's real old school. She always say, you have to watch who you bear your fruit with and such and such. Mm-hmm. But the kids that I have, it makes my brother says it all the time. He say, how in the world did you and Spanky have 2 green kids? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's to the point where I wanted to say that. I said, well, man, I got to really be on them because I know how I used to cut up. Yeah. And I know how their daddy used to cut up. But Jeffrey, when they was coming up and we used to go shopping for shoes, they didn't want the Jordans. Jeffrey wanted cowboy boots. He wanted, you know, I was trying to push those things off on him because I thought that's what being a good parent was.
Right.
Expensive tennis shoes and stuff. And he used to be upset because I didn't buy the cheap ass shoes.
Right.
And so I had to stop and say, Kitty, these his feet. This what he wants. Right. And he's not the child that worries about what people think. He does. Mm-hmm. He's real nonchalant. Mm-hmm. He's gonna go do what he does. And it kind of, I'm like, well, where did this come from in him? Because me, the second I hear it, I'm upside your head. You get what I'm saying? That's where I was at that point. And I look at him and I say, it has to be something else. Is it genetics, or is it just what it is, a draw out the hat that it happened? I can't understand it, but I want everybody to see that we have to try and help anybody when we can, because when you say changing the environment, a lot of them can't change the environment, but a lot of times you can rub off on that child.
Absolutely.
Something you do and something you say can impact that child.
Right.
Yeah, because
there's power in words.
Yep,
I was gonna add that about affirming, especially a child who likes cowboy boots and likes something different. Like instead of like people, maybe his brothers, I don't know if this happens for real, but they're like, oh man, you green, I'm wear them, whatever. Instead of allowing that to have, I just would affirm, that's his style, and keep getting what he likes. You know what I mean? And then that'll affirm who he is.
Yep. It's about preference. And
Marlon and Tim.
Yeah. Okay. So it is about preference, right? And every child's going to be different. Every child's going to be unique in their own way, right? Mm-hmm. So to that point, obviously, we oftentimes do instill some of the wrong societal things into our kids based on our own upbringing to a certain degree. Right. And it's like, you know what? Then we have to step back and think about it. Like, you know what? That's not even that big a deal to even be that concerned about versus, okay, this is a big issue. But even thinking about how Like some kids obviously get picked on. The kids who are picking on them obviously are not being taught to not only pick on anybody, but obviously to be kind and be respectful to other people's preferences too.
Right.
So just because they don't like what you like, don't necessarily mean that they're this or that. It's just that's their preference.
Right.
And that's the thing I wanted people to get from this particular episode.
Identity role.
You may, as far as perspectives,
it's
right?
about exposure
like
too.
You may not necessarily agree with my perspective on marriage. I may not agree with your perspective, but at the end of the day, we can all agree to disagree and stand in whatever it is that you feel. Like if that's what you feel and that's what you think, like just stand on it. It doesn't mean that I'm right and you're wrong or you're wrong. You know, like everybody has to become more confident and comfortable in their way of doing things. That's what makes life so special. God gave all of us different perspectives. So you just have to stand in it. And so when it comes,
and be open-minded too. Be very much so open-minded of things you don't know, because we don't know what we don't know until it gets to that point of finding out what we don't know. So we have to be much open-minded. We can't be so stuck in our ways and being senile to a point where it's like we can't be talked to, because it's like some things obviously are foundationally you're in your convictions, but other things can be altered. It's like, you know what, I didn't think about it that way, but okay, I'm gonna take that in consideration and obviously, you know, apply that new knowledge that I just so happened to sought out for and actually receive. I'm going to actually use that in the most productive way, you know, moving forward, versus well, I don't know about all that, I ain't gonna do all that. You're not even considering the possibility. You already shutting out the possibility that something like this could work for you.
Fixed
now,
mindset.
everything don't work for everybody, but it's all about exposure and opening your mind up to new things that you aren't necessarily haven't been exposed to in the past.
Like Bridget said earlier about like changing a child's environment. Sometimes I remember like when the internet and everything came out, I found like a site where I was able to go to a museum in London online. I was so geeked up. I'm like, oh, I'm out to touch on y'all, you know, and that's because of that exposure. So like I knew, like, although Greenville is where I'm born and raised now, and let me say this too, if you choose to remain in the city, that doesn't mean that you're not going to be successful. You know,
absolutely.
Like home, you can, whatever you need to do, like, it's because I've realized that where I am locationally is just where I am physically, because this is where I am mentally is really where
absolutely.
Because I've been where my mind was somewhere else, because I already knew that the things that I saw are going to do one or two things. The things you see are going to do one or two things. It's going to make you either conform to what you see, or it's going to give you some type of intrinsic motivation to get the hell out. It did the latter for me, because I knew that I had been exposed to something different, and I knew I had to move a little differently, because every woman in my family had got pregnant their senior year of high school. I said I was going to graduate 3 times. That was something I said. So that's why I wanted.
That's an achievable goal. That was your goal, and can nobody take that from you?
But that's because I wanted to break a generational curse.
Absolutely.
That brings me to my next point.
Right.
What is it, you know, that your family has dealt with generationally as far as curses are concerned? How have you gone about breaking them, or what have you struggled with? What has kind of helped you navigate through, identifying, being self-aware? This is a problem. This is a curse of the people in my family. Like, I know eating better. Like, they'll say, oh, here come Frankito, all this white folk stuff. That's what my family say about me. I'm the white in the family. You know,
listen, we have to do away with that slogan. Like, we really do. That is just so, that's so dehumanizing and degrading to us. It's like, white people ain't the only damn ones that want to eat healthy and live long.
Put that damn chicken down.
But you know what though? It really is, because some of the, like, most oftentimes, like a lot of times when I think about it, the way that I speak when I'm with some of my friends versus the way that I speak normally, just point blank period. Yeah. One of my guys, he looked at one of my videos. He said, "Man, I'm trying to figure out when you start sounding white. And I'm trying to figure out when did I be white." That's the part I'm trying to figure out.
My internet was acting up. I sound
white.
like this. So.
You sound like it's everybody too.
Right,
you're in there.
But if I speak correctly, then I sound white. But if I Say, hey, what's up, fool? You know what I'm saying? Where we
That's more
going? This kind of
acceptable.
thing. Oh yeah. That's Tim right there.
And then I'll be the first person to
Which
call him country.
no.
But it's because of slavery, though, y'all. It's because of slavery.
Well,
Exactly.
it is. It's a mental. It's a state of mind. It really is a state of mind because obviously it's been ingrained in us that we're supposed to be this divisive like this and say, oh, well, you're trying to speak like massa versus speaking like us or act like us or eat the same things they eat or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
These are terrible disclaimers and misnomers that's been ingrained in our minds for far too damn long, and that's one of the damn generational curses that we have to break. We have to stop all this talking white and being. We're not being nothing but ourselves.
That's double
we
conscious.
we just are who we are. Like my sister would call my dorm room, and literally my friends would say, "Hey Tim, it's a white girl on the phone for you," and I'm like, "That's my sister." They're like, no, but it's a white girl. I'm like, yeah, that's my sister. I promise she's just as black as I am. Yeah, that's my sister.
That's funny.
But those Bridget, things that we have to take into consideration, though. Yeah,
you're right. Bridget, any generational curses that you think that you feel like you try to tackle?
Absolutely, and I'm still tackling. I'm trying to tackle a scarcity mindset. As I believe that, you know, for my family, my immediate family is like poverty. Like my mom's mom died when she was 4. By the time she knew who her dad was, he was already dead. So, you know, and she only had one other sibling. Her sibling was 2. So it was like as soon as she turned 18, she got on her own or whatever. And so it's just like, to me, I feel like I hoard money now. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, not only as a single woman, you know, if I don't have it, then I ain't gonna have it. You kind of get what I'm saying? So it's like, I feel like I hoard it to make sure, because I can't call this person, that person to give me anything. So I feel like I'm just like, oh, I don't want to buy this, you know, until I get this, or I don't want. And I feel like sometimes I miss out on experiences and opportunities because I'm trying to make sure I got this amount of money saved just in case for a rainy day. So, but I also discovered the secret in 2014 when the scarcity mindset was like, when I first acknowledged it and realized what it was. And then I was able to transform my mind and start to say things like, you know, I'm a money magnet, money flows to me easily and frequently.
Money feels comfortable around me.
Right. And so when I started saying that, money started flowing to me. You know what I mean? I started seeing the power of the mind. But it doesn't mean that it has completely, the mindset has completely left me. You kind of get what I'm saying? So now that I've, you know, ventured out into home ownership, now that I'm like, okay, you know, a little has changed monthly, you know what I mean? So like, do I want to spend this, that? So I'm dealing with that. And then also I feel like in my family, there's not really a whole lot of 2-parent homes, you know what I mean? And so I almost feel like, for me, it took a long time for me to just accept that, you know, this was my story, you know, and not necessarily the end, but it was my story. And so I was so frustrated. I was like, God, I did the right thing. Like I did the career. I did have, you know, I was almost there, but I almost didn't count. You kind of get what I'm saying when I say I was engaged and all that. So for me, it was heavy for me because it was like, man, I was going to be, and I'm the oldest girl. So all eyes was on me on to get it right.
Pressure.
And so I think that for me, I'm just, like I said, dealing with that and I know what it is. And so I'm just working toward that, but I haven't fully accomplished it yet.
That's dope.
Yeah.
I think like the fact that you have enough. See, I'm in a space. It took me a lot of work inwardly to get to this space where I'm very self-aware and I'm so into self-preservation.
Absolutely.
I too understand the things that my family dealt with. So I try to do it the right way. So with my marriage, almost dissolved, it was heartbreaking. You know what I'm saying? Because I worked so hard to ensure that it worked out. So it's just like a lot of people, when we talk about relationships and marriage, people want to stay with the children of their mother because they don't want another man raising their child. Some people stay in a relationship that they know isn't good for them and it's toxic. Yeah. Everybody's caught up into their vanity, right? Because they on social media and they've done all this other crazy stuff. Their vanity will not allow them to leave their marriage that they know they don't supposed to be in. Because and so it's like at some point you have to make a decision and say, I have to choose me, because it's not necessarily a selfless act. You have to be a self-full person, because if you're selfless, then that means you can't pour into anybody else. So in people, it's going to be some decisions that you make. Now, does that mean that God is not going to send a high caliber man or whatever it is that you desire into your life, even with all the things that come? Absolutely not. Because like, like they say, you have what you say. Whatever it is that you think about grows. So become self-aware, going to counseling and therapy and healing yourself.
Yeah.
Really. See, this shirt that I'm rocking right now, see, it says healed. I designed it. It's on impactchasing.com. That's because I am healed. I am whole. So I understand that the things that I've gone through don't necessarily shape me into the individual that I am. These were lessons. And sometimes things like failed relationships and failed marriages, it doesn't mean you're a failure. So I feel like people sometimes equate things that have failed as calling them a failure. If you're married, you're not a failure. That just this was a lesson that you had to learn through this marriage or this.
It is.
I was just about to say that I'm a firm believer. I adopted a principle my dad told me many years ago. Son, you never failed at anything.
Yeah.
You just learned it. You just learned one of the ways that didn't work for you. Find a different way.
But see, Timothy, we got to talk about that imposter syndrome, though. We got to talk.
But yeah, and then that's the thing too. It's like, my mother always told me this too. It's more ways to get into a house than the front door, as long as it's your damn house, right? So obviously, there's going to be things that you actually have to go through that you have to learn from. If you never learn from anything, how could you really truly say that who you are today is who you really are? Because the things that you have gone through has been a subtotal of what makes you who you are today. And so, and those are learning experiences throughout life, right? For me personally, for generational curses perspective, I have to deal with the reality that not only was my father not around, but my mother has never been married. I never really had a full blueprint of what relationships or a healthy relationship and healthy marriage looks like. So I had to go through life actually winging this and figuring out, okay, what is it about me that I'm doing right? What is it about me that I'm doing wrong? And obviously build on those things, because I'm never going to stop learning. The day you stop learning is the day you become senile. I mean, you're stuck in your ways. You can't be taught any damn thing else. And as long as you're alive, there's always a new lesson for you to learn, regardless of whether big or small. And you're supposed to be in that mindset at all times. And so for me, obviously dealing with that realization that, not having a man in my life per se consistently to show me exactly what a man is like. He did teach me and show me what not to be, though. Yeah. So I do thank him for that. So the things I did see from him wasn't good at all. So I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm not doing that shit. Right. That's not gonna work for me. I'm not doing that. I'm gonna be better than that. And so I made it my duty to strive to be better than what he was and go even further than where he went with it. So it's a huge generational curse for me. And then even obviously bearing the burden to have to take care of both my family and my mother, even in hard times like this too. Now, obviously with this pandemic has exacerbated a lot of these issues that we're talking about now, has been highlighted and magnified times 10.
Yes,
and so from that perspective, we got to think about just how much more we're being impacted with. And so having to take care of my own household along with taking care of things for my mom, that can be overbearing at times. Now, me, I went from being the baby child to the middle child to the only child. My mother had 3 boys, and obviously my younger brother and my older brother left this earth. Obviously, for me, it left this earth entirely too soon for me. So I'm dealing with that burden of having to help take care of my mother. Not that none of it's a problem, but it becomes a problem or problematic when it comes to obviously being drained of things, not wanting to do more for her than I can do. But it's like, damn, it's like, okay, now I'm exhausted with this frustration of
what do you make the compromise?
I wish I can do more. And it's like, and I'm never in a position where I have to compromise my own household for her, but it's like, I wish I had more to do more for her. And so a lot of times, if you think about it like professional athletes or even entertainers for that matter, those who make it out of the hood and make it big, they have a
The
whole
burden
family to
is
take
on
care of.
them.
Burden is on
Exactly.
you.
It's like
The
now,
burden is on them.
oh, you made it, so we made it, and it's like now I
Right.
got to take care of the whole damn family because it,
Right.
it stems from not
Yes.
having generational wealth and not
Absolutely.
being taught generational wealth to now being
That's it.
self-made.
That's it.
Now that
That's
you
it.
My
made it,
man.
you
That's
got
it.
all the
That's
money.
it. That's it.
You got to
That's
take
it.
care
My
of all this
man.
shit
You gotta take
now.
all
You know what I'm
of it.
saying?
Instead of us getting
That's
together
it.
and figuring this stuff out ourselves and get some investment properties and flipping some cars, something to get some.
My man. See that
Now we
that
got to take care of
that's
all this shit. One
that's
person.
the generational aspect that you were talking about. What's the generational curse that you think that we have to break? For me, I think the generational curse that I have to break is my family's not bad, you know what I'm saying? Like they're kind of decent, you know what I'm saying, with like finances or whatever. But the division of, well, this person has it, so why don't they give it to that person? And that person has it, so why don't they give it
Yep.
to that?
Yep.
And that person has it, so that's
That's
the
a cultural
generational.
thing, Black cultural
Oh,
thing.
right. So that's the curse that I have to break for me. It's like, okay, your family has it, or this person has it in your family. You know what I'm saying? Now it's your job to step up in it. And I'm like, no, the thing that I have to break is the division of wealth. That's
Yeah.
the division that's the curse that I have
Yep.
to break. Like, it's the division of wealth. It's like, okay, if
Yep.
you have this and they have that, don't you think it makes sense to come together and do this? But you're looked at as the outcast, as like, yeah, you're crazy. Why would I put my money with them? Oh, it's crazy. Or you're you're that odd
Yep.
person, but you made it. So let me invest in you so I can get paid and make money with you. I'm like, you retarded. You know, so
I
like
get it.
it's the
You know.
Go ahead, Bridget.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No,
Go ahead. I want to finish.
Okay.
When I was a child, I was the one who was like, oh, well, this my rich auntie. You know what I mean? So why I can't call her and get X, Y, and Z? Like we know we need this, and why she can't bring more food for Thanksgiving? You know what I mean? Because she got like, but when the burden came on me, you know what I mean? When I got older, people like,
you were like, oh no, don't call me.
Exactly. And so now
that shit didn't feel good at all.
And
That
then
shit didn't
so
feel good at all.
and now I understand. But as a child, I didn't know. You know what I mean? And so now as an adult, I'm like, I'm looking at my uncle. And I'm like, I know how you felt. Like we can't. You can't have your household and and then somebody's
And
household.
take care of theirs
You
too.
know what I mean? It's like you can't do that. Here's the thing: if I got a little extra, I'm gonna give it to you, but I'm not gonna take away from my child mouth to give it to you. You know what I mean? We got the same 24 hours in a day. We're either gonna do you or you're not gonna do you.
Yep, absolutely.
And
That same clock that's on that wall in my house,
Yeah.
you got that wall too. So guess what? You got to get your ass up and work too. I can't provide for every single person because that's gonna leave little to nothing for me and mine. So that's not fair. That's not fair at all.
I had to make perfect sense to a lot of my friends, and I told them a long time ago, when I was younger, my grandparents used to give me anything in this world that I wanted. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna lie. They used to give me anything in this world that I wanted. And it was like I was 12 years old. I told them, stop. I said, man, why y'all give me everything? And I don't know what it takes from you to be able to give me what you give me. Show me how you get it. It's probably one of the smartest and the dumbest decisions I ever made in my life. But, once I began to work and I began to make my own money and I began to get out there and get things on my own, I found myself working on a job one day and I was with my granddad and he said, let me explain something to you, son. Because I started complaining. I'm not going to lie. I was complaining. Man, this is stupid. When I'm out here doing this, he said, son, and this is a motto I've adapted all my life. If I had one of my Team Stolly shirts here from when I trained and when I used to be a track coach, it's literally the motto that I live by. You'll see it on the shirt. It says, he explained to me, he said, son, you can either work or you can whine, but you can't do both and be successful. And I said, that makes right, but I said it makes absolutely no sense to me, granddaddy. That's like the most retarded thing I've ever heard. He said, no, son. He said, what are you doing? I said, I'm working. He said, no, you're not. You're whining. He said, you hadn't moved, you hadn't took a step, you hadn't done anything. He said, so you're not working. He said, you can either work or you can whine. He said, because if you're whining, you're not working towards changing what you're whining about in the first place. So you can either work or you can whine, but you cannot do both and be successful. And ever since then, I never looked back.
And you know what? My grandmother, she's the epitome of like the GOAT to me because she didn't have like a whole lot of education, but like her grind, like she owned like 7-8 houses, like all type of stuff. Like, and she tells me all the time, get out of your feelings because ain't no money there.
Ain't no money there.
And so not to mention, so it's like, okay, I got to start being more aware. Am I in my feelings right now, right? And most importantly, being emotionally balanced, right? Like understanding that feelings are temporary things. Right now I'm feeling this way, but in an hour I'll feel another way. And in 30 minutes from that, I'll feel another way. So kind of like understanding, not letting what your family has gone through affect how you see yourself. Because me and my friend were talking about earlier, the imposter syndrome, like feeling like things got to be perfect. Like I got to do this way, I got to do that. Like not being okay with making mistakes. And I went through a training with this lady, and when she made a mistake, she would say, "Yay, mistakes!" and she would write the mistake down. But I never saw anybody like celebrate a mistake. I'm like, lady, you just gave us the wrong information.
Right.
Celebrate applauding yourself. But what it did was it changed the manner in which I saw myself making mistakes. Like I was able to
accountability,
right? Instead of beating myself up and going in and just beat myself upside the head. Like, how did you do that? You know better than that by now. Just accepting.
It was a teachable lesson.
It changes your mindset on accountability.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
When at Rush, the funniest thing everybody used to think about me, they used to laugh at. We would be in choir practice, and I mess up on the note, or I mess up something. And before Zeb said anything, I do this.
Like that was me.
I raised my hand like it's me. And everybody's like, man, you're retarded. You know Zeb finna cheat. I'm like, it's cool, bro. I made the mistake. It's all right. Let me fix it. You know what I'm saying?
Like a place where we own up to that, right? We have to own up to our own mistakes and fuck ups, because first off, we're entitled to it. Secondly, we also have to understand that it's going to happen, whether inadvertently, whether accidentally or incidentally. We're gonna make those mistakes, and so the best thing about making those mistakes is stepping back and learning from it and saying, okay, I did it this way and it didn't work, so let me try something different. Now, obviously, we all know the cliche about Albert Einstein's philosophy on insanity, which is doing the same shit, hoping for a different result. Now, if we don't learn it, see, I always say this: knowledge ain't power. Applied knowledge is. See, if you don't apply what you know, how can you really say you know it?
Oh, that's good.
And so we have to obviously get to that place where that knowledge is being applied on all facets of life in order for us to actually be better than what we are and where we are in life at that moment.
So Marlon, speaking of application, that's why one of my sayings is execution over excuses. Because at the end of the day, you can give an excuse to everything, but you have to be able to execute. Lotion in your hands and your hand ashy. You're not gonna apply the lotion, you're not gonna rub it in, so you're gonna just stay ashy? No, you're gonna rub it in. So the same guys with like application is necessary to get to the next level, because otherwise you are just a great orator with an audience, and people like to hear themselves talk. It's the thinker and the doer. The thinker still sitting there thinking, the doer is doing it. You have to be both, but you have to execute over what you're feeling. Like it's just
I thought it's just wishful thinking if you don't execute it. It's just the thought, right? We can dream all the hell we want, but if we don't put that dream into fruition some kind of way, then it's going to be an afterthought tomorrow.
Right. Someone asked Warren Buffett one day, what's the best way to make money? And he said, to make money. And they said, I don't understand that. He said, you can sit there and plan about making money every day, but if you do nothing about making money, you won't make any money today.
Right.
Go and make money. However you figure that out, what way you figured it out, go and do it.
Period.
It's just that simple, right?
Period.
So obviously, and to that point, part of another generational curse that we have to break collectively as a culture is this whole crabs in a bucket ploy that obviously we've all been victims of, right? So if one person's making it, the rest of the people are jealous of that person, saying all that person thinks that they're better than them, this, that, and the third.
Marlon, your phone went on mute. You're on mute.
It's like you're basically that's your problem to deal with. You are trying to put it off on me that I'm actually going through that, when in all actuality, that's not how I'm perceived. You're perceiving me that way.
That's projection.
Not how it is. It's like that's you got to own your own shit. That's not my problem that you looking at me as if I think I'm better than you. No, I don't look at you like that at all.
Right. That's an
But
eternal
that's your
internal
issue that you
situation.
have to deal with. You have to deal with that
Absolutely.
issue, not me. And so we have to get to a place of understanding that everyone's way of making it in life won't be the same. But guess what? We all have the damn choice to make it in life. It's enough room out here for us all to fucking eat. All of us can make it, but if everyone collectively is not applying what they know and what they're trying to know, then guess what? It's only going to be a handful of us. And my uncle and I had this conversation several times. He argued me to death. He said, listen, you got to be okay with the fact that everybody can't come with you. Everybody's not going to be able to make it. You have to be okay with that. And for a long time, I struggled with that because I obviously see the good in everybody, but I can't see it for them. I can't want them to be successful for them more than they want it for themselves. And we have to get to that place where it's like, well, you know what? I wish you the best, but you're not going to drag me down in your shit just to make yourself feel better about being down there. By having me down there with you ain't going to help. So I'm not going to help you.
That was one of my biggest flaws.
I get it. You know what?
That used to be one of my biggest flaws.
You have, and you know what? I know me and Bridget, we definitely have had some conversations around that, kind of feeling somewhat like because we're successful in certain aspects of our lives, the kind of guilt that's associated with that because you saw that someone else had that same potential, but everybody got lotion, that's potential. If they don't apply it, you can't apply it for them, you know? And so I just think this is probably like a good space to end because we've been talking almost 2 hours, you know?
Yeah, I just noticed that.
It's been pretty
I've had such a good time. You all have given like amazing perspectives about a plethora of things. I didn't even get to some of the stuff I wanted to talk about, but I think that we talked about what we're supposed to. So I just thank each and every one of you, Joaquin and Kitty as well, from the bottom of my heart for like joining me and having this candid conversation, this healthy dialogue about different topics, because I feel like it was some things we need to discuss. And hopefully, you know, I'm big on impact. You know, we out here impact chasing. So hopefully we made an impact and left an imprint on someone. And
hopefully we get to do it again.
We will.
Yeah.
We will.
I like Ballin's
Bridget,
logo over there.
Bridget, I want to finish hearing about this funeral. Like I really want to dive into that. Like I want to know about the funeral.
Okay, so listen. Go listen to my podcast on Live and Sing the Podcast. Live and Sing the Podcast on Apple. And it's a episode on there about cheating don't break my spirit. And that's where I really break it down. And then we can talk about it, you know.
But you know what else breaks your spirit deeper than cheating, though?
What?
Verbal abuse. Physical.
Verbal is that's something that's an understatement. That can break your spirit.
That is an understatement. That is worse than physical abuse.
It is.
Because you never ever forget it. You can heal from the physical abuse, but the verbal abuse, it never erases from your mind.
Not to mention if that is a part of your love language. If your love language is words of affirmation, then you're gonna remember the fact that because that's how you love by what they say.
Yeah.
So it's like you
exactly
like that to me. You don't love me.
Yep.
You don't love me.
Deep. That's another love languages. It's a completely
that's another story for another topic for another day.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. Anything else? Oh, you all wanted to promote your businesses before you get off or whatever?
Marlon?
Well, I'll let Bridget go first.
Bridget, are you there, sweetie? And let the record reflect that Bridget has a big ass house. Don't play.
A big ass house. Alone with the big ass house.
Don't play with my friend.
With the big ass house with the dream car.
Let that be known. It's a big ass house with a big ass backyard.
Look, she hit the full flex on us with the big ass house.
That was a hard flex.
I'm just messing with
you.
She's gone.
All right, Marlon.
All right. Well, yeah. You all can reach me on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. My podcast is Speak to the Mic, the podcast. You can also follow me on social media, both Instagram and Facebook. Instagram is Speak to the Mic _ podcast show. Facebook is also Speak to the Mic podcast show. Definitely, the more content I put out, the more I'm looking for more feedback. I'm actually talking to people who are in these different professions as Black people, giving them their roses while they're here, and obviously acknowledging the immediate impact and changes they're trying to do and they're making in our communities, and also calling out those who don't mean us well, because we got a lot of all skin folk ain't kin folk. So I'm calling bastards out who are selling us out for their own personal gain. So because it has to be said. It has to be said. So, definitely, check me out. Check my podcast out. Because we got a lot of all skin folk ain't kin folk. So I'm calling bastards out who are selling us out for their own personal gain. So because it has to be said. Definitely, check me out. Check my podcast out. Because we got a lot of all skin folk ain't kin folk.
Hey, Bridget, will you mute your Facebook because we can hear the feedback?
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay, hold on.
Okay. Did you hear us talking about you though, Flex?
I did.
I'm talking about hard flexing. Ain't even flint.
Man, you know what I'm talking about? She did a couple muscle ups on us real quick. You know what I'm saying?
Listen.
A man gonna be in that big ass house.
She flexing her Rolly too, though. Her
Man,
her Michael Kors in the
you
screen and everything.
You the people, Molly. See you with the flip of the wrist game real quick. With the big ass house and the dream car.
Tim, she was like, Tim. She was like this, showing the watch, like,
I see you, G.
No, I'm just playing. No, that's a fossil watch, y'all. They ain't no Rolex, but listen.
The fossil's still nice, though.
It bling, though.
I got one. I know. I feel you.
I'm cracking laughing at y'all. And my phone died, but I still heard it on Facebook. So yeah, my podcast is Living Single, the podcast on Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. And then on Instagram is the Living Single podcast. So just we're starting season 2. I hadn't done an episode in a while. So season 1 is out and finished. You can catch up from the beginning. I have a trailer and and it just goes from 1 to the end. I have a few guests on there as well, but it's so fun. Like, I feel like I really am able to, I don't know, just like get everything out that I want to say. I think God has given me so many experiences to be able to talk about. And so, yeah, y'all get a chance. Y'all listen to it. I didn't promote the first season. I wanted to see how it would do naturally. And I got over 1,000 plays like before a year was up. So, so definitely check it out. Thank y'all so much. Thank you.
Check that out.
That's awesome.
Podcast. All right.
My podcast has yet to launch. It is What Women Want, What Men Need.
Timothy, that is the name of my next show. It's Men We Need. So y'all can tell us.
So what the entire aspect of the show is to basically break down from a man's point of view versus a woman's point of view. We speak about a lot of things, relationships, sex, the entire marriage, the entire gamut of everything. And we just break it down, A lot of people are going to agree to disagree, but I'm bringing on a lot of guys that are going to give you, unfiltered views. I want women that are going to give unfiltered views, and where they clash, and where we meet, we meet. So that's definitely coming. T-Style Productions, you know me from all of the parties that I throw. That has been a large aspect of it. I've moved away from film and photo, but I'm getting back into that this year. So yeah, I'm here. Oh, okay. And so yeah, that won't be promoted on here, but I also own a company called RPM Logistics. We run a lot of freight around Memphis. So
we might know people that need to get with that. Y'all heard RPM freight.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'll let your boy. And I'm just out here in these streets. No, I'm kidding. Not here. No, so I have a podcast called Impact Chasing. I was on SoundCloud. Still waiting to hear back from Apple to get approved. Y'all know how the process goes for those of you all who have podcasts. But I have 6 episodes, I think, on SoundCloud. But I think that I'm more of a vlogger. I need to be, you need to see my face, my expression. So I think that I'm probably going to, stick with the live part of that. And I'm going to create a YouTube page for Impact Chasing and also have some apparel. And so hopefully this particular conversation brought you some type of healing. And so make sure you go purchase our healed shirt on impactchasing.com. And if you need any help educationally, any ACT prep for your babies, or you're trying to pass the test, shoot me an inbox and I'll be more than happy to, assist you. But whatever you do, make sure you chase impact, the right one. All right.
There you go.
All right.
Thank you so much. Be safe. Take care of yourselves. And I'm going to let you go.
Later.
All right, y'all. Y'all be safe out here, black men and
Y'all be
women.
safe.
Y'all do. Wear your damn mask. Wear your mask.
Wear your damn mask.
Don't catch that Rona.
Not your mask, your damn mask.
Wear your damn mask.
We are anti-Rona in the name of Jesus. I bind it.
Thank you, Jesus.
I'm not going to play with you. Bye, guys.